It's no longer a special military operation. Russia is now at war with Ukraine in all but name. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. 2 days ago, if you remember, I talked about the sabotage of the Kerch Strait Bridge connecting Crimea to the rest of Russia. I told you then that the appointment of General Sergei Vladimirovich Surovikin as theater commander in Ukraine was a clear signal that Russia was through playing games. This morning, General Surovikin proved the point. With a series of cruise missile strikes, Russia has devastated the power and other infrastructure throughout Western Ukraine. Will Russia do nothing more than just send this message with these strikes, or will an all-out total invasion come next? Before I give further details, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, including this t-shirt that I have chosen for today. You see the President, Joe Biden, in the foreground, an explosion in the background, and it quotes him as saying, "I did that." Now, I don't mean to say that Joe Biden did anything, unless you count the sabotage to the Nord Stream pipeline, and I have only my suspicions, nothing concrete. But I do say that if Trump had won the election of 2020, none of this would be happening. And certainly not the sabotage to the Kerch Strait Bridge or the missile strikes that happened this morning. One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click on the bell icon to get a notice every time I come up with a new one. In fact, you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click on that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do. Now then, I told you 2 days ago that I prefer primary sources. I've chosen the Telegram channels Intel Slava Z and Battlefield Insights. I've left links in the description to both, but today I allowed one exception, the British Broadcasting Corporation. I cite them for two reasons. First, they're the first Western source to report on anything in the Ukraine, and they're the first to give a casualty figure. They also nearly lost a man to one of the missile strikes. I've left a link in the description to some on-site footage showing a Beeb man ducking and covering. Now, was that real or was it histrionics? You decide. The Kremlin officially blamed Ukraine for the Kerch Strait Bridge bombing yesterday. Furthermore, Intel Slava Z reported several explosions in Zaporozhye city at 6:34 a.m. Kiev time. They also released two pictures of destroyed armored fighting vehicles belonging to the Ukrainian army. General Surovikin seems to have responded relatively swiftly if he hadn't already given the orders. At 6:37 a.m. Kiev time came the report of a Russian missile strike on a train at or near a major railway junction. At 7 a.m., the Russians started using artillery. The message doesn't make clear where. Then, at 7:43 a.m., came the first reports of missile strikes in Kiev itself, and later Dmitropetrovsk. At 8:08 a.m., Intel Slava Z shared their footage of the Beeb reporter covering the war in Ukraine who had to duck and cover. Maybe. Then at 8:44 a.m., Intel Slava Z released a picture of General Surovikin. Now you have to click through the article, which features that portrait. I mean, the guy looks like Yul Brynner in the motion picture The Journey. And here's what he said, quote, "For the enemies of Russia, the morning does not start with coffee," unquote, General Surovikin. Now, that's a message. Battlefield Insights at 11:55 a.m. Kiev time released a full set of the cities that had taken missiles and their effects. Now settle in, this is going to be a long one. Preliminary targets of missile strikes on Ukraine according to OSIN and Telegram channels. The following cities were hit: Kiev, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, Zaporozhye, Tarnopol, Odessa, Kryvyi Rog, Lviv, Zhytomyr, Rivne, Nikolaev, Krapinitsky, Kremenchug, and Konotop. Attacks on critical infrastructure: Glav SBU in Kiev, CHPP-5 in Kiev, CHPP-6 in Kiev, Lvovskaya CHPP in Lviv, Bersinskaya TPP in Ivano-Frankivsk region, the EU advisory mission in Kiev, and the Department of Law Enforcement agencies in Kiev and Kharkov. Here CHPP stands for Combined Heat and Power Plant, and TPP stands for Thermal Power Plant. Total loss of power is reported in Lviv, Zhytomyr, Sumy, Kharkiv, Khmelnytsky, Poltava, Ternopil, and Lutsk. Partial loss of power and full or partial loss of water supply is reported in basically all over Ukraine. Source: various Russian media, Telegram channels, Ukrainian media, and user reports. Dmitri Medvedev, former president of the Russian Federation, plainly said this was only the beginning. And before I quote him, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Now, whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities that company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, Medvedev put out a statement on his Telegram channel at 12:42 p.m. Moscow time, and it's in Russian, like his entire channel, so I copied it and ran it through my favorite translation engine, which is Yandex. Here's what I got. Quote, "The first episode is played. There will be others and more. I will express my personal position. I can't help but mention it now. The Ukrainian state in its current configuration with a Nazi political regime will pose a constant, direct, and obvious threat to Russia. Therefore, in addition to protecting our people and protecting the borders of the country, the goal of our future actions, in my opinion, should be a full-fledged dismantling of the political regime of Ukraine." Unquote, Dmitri Medvedev. Now, with all this excitement, perhaps some of you are wondering what is going on at the Kerch Strait Bridge. Well, at 3:24 p.m. Kiev time, Intel Slava Z released a statement by Deputy Prime Minister Marat Shakirzanovich Khushullin concerning repairs to the Kerch Strait Bridge. Quote, "Deputy Prime Minister Khushullin said that damage to the pillars on the Crimean Bridge would be repaired by the end of the week. The delivery of the necessary equipment for the upcoming repair of 2 bridge spans of the automobile part of the Crimean Bridge has already begun. The schedule for the dismantling of the damaged spans will be presented in the next 3 days. In general, the system has already entered the mode of eliminating the consequences of the terrorist attack, and there is no particular doubt that they will try to eliminate the consequences of the terrorist attack as soon as possible. It is also worth noting that trucks are not allowed to cross the Crimean Bridge. There will be ferries. Car traffic continues. There is no excitement associated with gasoline in the Crimea. Close quote. The Beeb, meanwhile, is reporting that casualties are strikingly minimal. Would you believe they were reporting 11 deaths, with 8 in Kiev alone and 60 injuries? Is that all? With all those missile strikes? Well, I'd say General Surovikin must have given orders to destroy as much electric generating capacity as possible, but keep casualties to a minimum. With one possible exception, Dr. Steve Turley released a foreword from the Belim Akta channel. It says, quote, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's office has reportedly been destroyed in a Russian missile strike on central Kiev. Unquote, Belim Akta. Intoslava Z, for their part, confirmed the destruction of what they call the head of the cyber police department. Unquote. The U.S. Embassy in Kiev has urged all American citizens in Ukraine to shelter in place and get out when they can, on the ground. So what do you suppose Russia is going to do next? Well, I see little reason to doubt that Russia will follow up these attacks with a full-scale invasion. The Beeb is saying that this is mere revenge for the Kerch Strait Bridge. Well, the sabotage to that bridge was no doubt the trigger. The Russians likely appointed General Surovikin as theater commander in response to that event. But General Surovikin has this morning done all the things you normally do before launching a ground invasion. The idea is to destroy the enemy's ability to resist. And yes, I've seen the reports in other Western sources of the annihilation of the Kerch Strait Bridge. I don't believe these for one cesium clock cycle. And I never did. Mark Twain once said, and again I quote, reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, close quote. I'd say that applies here. Dmitri Medvedev as good as promised a full-scale invasion with the aim of regime change. Remember what he said, the first episode is played, there will be others. In fact, Vladimir Putin has already addressed the Russian Federation Security Council. We don't know yet what formal declarations they will make, but the term special military operation might already be obsolete by the time you hear this. This also means that the United States must stop throwing money at the region. Ukraine has already lost. Whatever you think of which side, as between Russia and Ukraine, was in the right. Link in the description of the article to Intel Slava Z's and Battlefield Insights Telegram channels, to the footage from Intel Slava Z showing that Beeb reporter ducking and covering, or maybe pretending to the forwarded statement by Deputy Prime Minister Khushullin, to the direct statement by Dmitri Medvedev in the original Russian, so that you can test my translation. And the conservative news and views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link, and also links to just about everything I've said already about Ukraine and any other decent report that I can find. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.